is administration. It's multifaceted because of the size of our department. Although we have full-time staff, myself being one of them, we have over 30 part-time staff that we have to manage. So I'm part of managing that. I respond to calls, so I respond to all medicals, fires, accidents, any type of call that anybody calls 911 for the fire department for, will respond. But specifically on the fire scene, that I would like to say, my role is to manage everybody. So it's to manage the fire scene, it's to direct everybody, tell them what needs to be done. And then our paramedic service, Lakeview, which is stationed here with us, so they're staffed here 24/7. They respond to the medical as well, and we go together as a team, assess the situation, and help them out. So that's kind of how it is on the medicals and a typical day. Some days we can have multiple types of calls. Some days there could be practically none. And then basically schooling started for me as soon as I graduated high school, and I went into Hennepin Tech Academy to take my firefighter 1, my firefighter 2, my hazmat, my EMT. So once I received all of those classes, then you have to get state certified. So you have to pass multiple tests to become state certified. So that was basic to become the firefighter. I'm here basically Monday through Friday 8 to 4:30, but I carry a pager and basically waiting, if I'm at home and I'm available to respond to the calls, I'll go for the 5 live burns a year. So we're utilizing the new facility over here and off of Highway 5. It's 26, so when I graduated high school, I applied to the fire department at that time, and I started immediately when I was 18 going through school. And I was on the part-time side, and it's only been about 11 or 12 years now that I've been full-time in this position as deputy chief.
Over the 26 years you've been at the fire department, how has the culture here changed?
I want to say in multiple different areas. I want to say technology has changed, even for us as a fire department, and I would have never thought 26 years ago that you could have told me technology would change how a fire department responded to a call and handle it, but it has. We have computers in every vehicle, CAD systems that interact with us when we're responding to call, that can give us live data of exactly what's going on, through the dispatcher that's talking to the person on the phone and updating us through the CAD system, along with the radio system. So that's one area that has really impressed me, that most recently, I guess in the last 6-7 years, that technology has really changed it. But the culture of firefighting, has primarily kind of stayed the same in the aspect of what we do as far as firefighters, just wanting to help, be a part of the community, and make a positive difference and be a part of that. I think that's why most people join and stick around for that. The difficulty with today's times is there's a lot of opportunity for people to move around more, so you don't see people staying in the same home, in the same community for a very long time. So a young family that may move into the city and join the department, you would think maybe they'd stay here for 10 or 15 years, but they grow or get oversized out of their house, or something better comes along and they move. And then once they're out of the community, then they're kind of out of the fire department because they can't respond as well. So those are the difficulties that we kind of face with when we bring people on, is that their life is going to change, and their ability to commit to us versus a long time ago. time ago, 30, 40, 50 years ago. People, if they grew up here, sometimes they stayed in the community and they were on the department for 20, 30, sometimes even more than that, years on the department, and that makes a difference. So right now, we seem to have a split in our department as far as the majority of the people have less than 10 years, and the rest of us are, closer to 20, so.
So how have things changed economically?
Again, the cost of equipment continues to rise. We just ended up purchasing and putting into service this past spring a new fire truck. And previously, to replace a truck, we were on a 20-year program, but because of the cost of the trucks, we're increasing that to 30 years. So
every 30 years you get a new truck.
pretty much because of the cost, I'll kind of say why. We have 4 main trucks that we used. We just took 2 out of service and replaced it with 1 brand new one. So the 2 that were taken out of service, one's from 1973, and that one costed probably around $100,000 to build at that time. The second one that's coming out of service is a 1986 truck, and that one again was around 125 to 140,000, somewhere in that, to replace. The truck that was just purchased now and is replacing both of them costs $550,000. So as these trucks and equipment all around the prices continue to grow like that, our budget within the city for that doesn't as well. So now we've taken, our fleet of 4 and we cut it down basically to 3 to continue to make that work, within our means.
Where do these old trucks go?
That's on the truck. They could be sold to other communities, further out of state, say northern Minnesota, to a smaller community that, again, they don't have as much money to pay for. They have the need for it, but they don't have the funds to it. So sometimes this is what they're able to afford and what they're able to get. We basically put them on online auction, through the state, through the nationwide, and sometimes people, if they want to collect them, sometimes they'll collect them. If other cities can put them into service, they'll do that too. But it's all dependent on where you're at and how much money you have and what your need is for them. But that's kind of usually where they go or end up. There's a lot of times there's not a lot of need out there for an older truck that has a few miles on it and is worn out. So sometimes they're really cheap to get if you want to invest into one. But
Okay.
every year the city goes through a budgeting process, and for us it actually started back in June. And so basically for 6 months, from June until the end of December, or sometime in the middle of December, when council is going to vote on and decide what the budget is going to be, we work through that whole process and kind of laying things out on where we want money to go. So I guess as a resident or a taxpayer, everybody, contributes money to pay their taxes through to the local government and state and national, and the city makes up a small portion of that piece of the pie for the taxes, going to the city or the county or the school district. And then, so we only have X amount, of dollars that come in through the taxes. And that's how cities operate.
Does the state set regulations on what you can use it on?
Definitely. I mean, there are regulations on what it can go on. and what it can be spent on. So we code everything that is spent through our budget, whether it's for Fire Prevention Week, whether it's through payroll, whether it's through the trucks or fuel. All those things are coded separately, and there are certain things that we cannot pay for. In 2012 was a thermal imaging camera, and that cost us roughly around $12,000. So we took the money to purchase that. That came from the money we raised in our fundraisers.
Do you guys do any environmentally friendly practices at the fire department or city hall in general?
So fires in general are a very bad thing, and in previous years, training wise, when we would have opportunities for, let's say if somebody was demolishing their home, or a long time ago, you guys probably don't know this, but when they built the new high school, there used to be houses there, and there was actually a row of houses that our departments, Maplewood and Oakdale, that we used for burning and training in. And at that point, it was okay to do that type of training, and it still is to a certain effect now, but in order to be able to do that type of training, now you have to get a license from the county. You have to go through and remove asbestos. You have to remove shingles. You have to remove all those things that the environment or EPA doesn't want us burning up on training drills. So even though those scenarios and doing those types of burns are the best for our firefighters to learn how to be the best firefighters, they don't generally work out, because in order to take those materials out of a house, for us to be able to do those types of burns, usually are thousands of dollars, if not at least $10,000. And again, then that comes back to having the funds to be able to do something like that. That's why we also now have the training facility, which we don't have to worry about those types of pollution controls, in the sense of what we're burning in there is just Class A combustible, so it's just paper, it's just wood. We're not burning plastics, we're not burning tar, we don't have things that we're polluting with. One of the other buildings, there's 2 buildings that we burn in, actually has propane type burners in there, so there is no smoke or exhaust that comes from it that would be considered pollution. Well, there is quite a bit of interaction between us. Depending on our positions, I think sometimes a little bit more. Obviously, depending on the call, they'll go out to a medical with us as well. Some of them, they may not. If it's a minor call, they may not respond. It's our responsibility as a fire department then to take care of the EMS. So depending on where it is, if it's something major, cardiac arrest, obviously the police are going to come to the scene and work well with us together. And the same on fire type calls and with accidents. I mean, we all kind of know how we need to work together with somebody and whose role it is. If there's an accident on a busy road, they know they need to do whatever they need to do to kind of protect us while we're doing our job, whether there's extricating a patient out of the car, or if there's a car fire, because our focus isn't going to be on traffic control, that we want them to focus on traffic control. So everybody kind of knows their job a little bit, and how they have to interact with each other on emergency scenes. The other thing that we do is code compliance as a fire department. And code compliance is, I guess, another word, code enforcement, dealing with property owners and property issues, so like garbage houses, some of the more severe areas. So sometimes we need help with our police officers to come out there when we need to talk to property owners, because if they become irate or difficult, it's to have a police officer present during that conversation can go a long way. So myself and the chief attend meetings, fire department, or I'm sorry, police department meetings that they have monthly, and we just kind of share information and communicate back and forth. So the department kind of knows in general what's going on. So there, and that's, you know, I don't want to say it's a requirement, but it's something that we see the need for to maintain communication, to know what's going on, to better work with each other and serve the community. I know when I was in high school, my eyes weren't opened up to what was out there, and I would just recommend, you know, checking things out, you know, making sure you look and see what's out there and what you like, and try it.